for a fun.
So, Defining Devops is what we were given the scope to talk about.
Lovely, Dan and I know each other from DevOps and other conferences. So before it's like, oh, the people in the speak, I know Dan, it's all good. So we kind of collaborated a bit, haven't we? So it should be a cohesive message. That's the pitch. I'll let you be judge.
In an attempt, luckily we ended with a really specific word on here, defining, and a really broad word, DevOps. So why listen to us about me doing this stuff forever? Got my first computer when I was 4, wrote my first commercial computer program when I was 8. I've been doing this a lot, and actually my day job is to help organisations build software better, faster, higher quality. And I deal a lot with large enterprises and to small companies and startups that want to get off on the right foot. And so we deal with behemoths that are reluctant to change, people, governments that are resistant internally to change, all the way down to the agile, nimble, disrupting startup that wants to get off on the right foot. And there's a lot of commonalities that we can add. I also run conferences like this, and if any of you have heard of DevOps for Kids, great. If you haven't, it's a great event for getting kids into tech.
Similar stories, Dan. So I do actually prefer Daniel, that's why I've had one. So I'm normally titled the Chief Scientist at OpenCredo, but also Principal Consultant. We are a company based in Southwark, doing a lot of transformations and like kind of bespoke development work as well. We're definitely not a body shop, let's specify that one. Someone asked me that already tonight. We don't do that kind of thing. We work with, like Dan, large and small clients that help do DevOps, help do Lean, microservices, kind of all the buzzwords, but we often go in, we peel it all back and look at the actual problems before offering solutions. That is a key thing our industry, I think, needs more of. So, my background is I was an academic for a while, studied and taught at university, moved into web dev and then back end, startups, so I did literally anything that was coming, DBA work, ops work, go like Java, going more towards ops late, and then doing more of the transformation pieces. I realised how valuable people are, and that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight. So sort of building on my technical knowledge, I still do code, I want to say that now, I still do code as much as I can. Not as much as I'd like, probably, but as much as I can. And I'm very much invested in like the actual community. It's like reading what Russ was saying there. I help out the OJC, help run the OJC, and Java. Conference regular, definitely. I speak as much as I can until they shut me up. I also write InfoQ. Hopefully many of you know InfoQ. It's a great website for sort of professional software development and architecture, and I share as much knowledge as I can. But the key things I'd like you to take away from this slide is I see a lot of kind of bad stuff. When I come into organisations with my team, we're typically there to solve a problem. So I get to see lots of bad things, or lots of things that need to be transformed across a wide sort of range of companies in the industry. And I see a lot of good stuff at the conferences. I go to Google quite a lot, I go to Amazon, go to Netflix and chat to them after the conferences. So kind of like the dichotomy of like good and bad is really nice when I help clients in where they are, I recognise patterns, and then I can try and get some of the good things into the other stuff that I see as well. So that's kind of what I like to take away from there. Love learning, love sharing, for sure.
So we've got lots of experience to share. Equally, you all have various backgrounds and stories, and we'd like to hear about those too. So some ground rules. Please do interrupt us. If you think we're wrong, tell us, please. In fact, my talk was aimed at being more humorous and is aimed at trying to expand the scope of what you think the definition of DevOps is, and that'll become apparent later. And Daniel's going to get into down, dirty, and deep implementation detail, as well as drifting and connecting the messages that we're trying to get across. If you disagree, tell me. I like people who disagree with me, because I hold many opinions, more than weekly. And this should feel more like a group of which we're trying to bring a set of experience. And please help us shape this, because as you'll probably realise towards the end of the presentations, the DevOps world is really ill-defined, and I think it's going to take all of us to define it well. So the way that we're going to do this, I'm going to present this. This was initially done as a lightning talk, but I'm going to go into the more serious side behind it, as well as trying to keep some of the humour from needing that aspect. I'm then going to talk and interview Daniel, and he's going to interview me about what we really mean behind this stuff, so how can this all be practical. We'll get on to comms at the end if any of you know that. And then I'll let Daniel go away and he'll do his presentation at the end. So please do keep this in practice. Without further ado, Shades of DevOps. So first, if any of you know this guy, it's not about him. If you don't, Our code of conduct prevents me from saying anything further. So, I did some research when I first heard about DevOps, and more recently reiterated that research, and it starts off with Google. Google do some great analytics on the internet, and one of them is you can investigate their database and mine what people are searching for and how they're doing it. And as you can see, right at the beginning of 2009, no one knew anything about DevOps. I mean, everyone was still doing DevOps as we know it, but no one actually mentioned or called it DevOps. Until, well, let's see about halfway up the curve, around about 2014, the Chicago Tribune thought that we needed to save our infrastructure from DevOps because people were going down an avenue and not really knowing what they were trying to achieve, because all that I can really tell happened is back with Patrick Dubois, the godfather or originator of the DevOps term at least, brought together this idea of what DevOps should be, this new way of doing operations, and was arguably jumping on the Lean and the Kanban and the Scrum and the whole Agile manifesto that was going, and said this should apply to operations. It shouldn't just be about bringing your testers in and your business people. We should be getting your security people in as well, and your operations people, and everyone should be involved in this thing. And then IBM, around about here, same uptick. They released some products that were DevOps products, and this is where things, in my opinion, went wrong. So DevOps went from being a concept to being something you could buy, something you could have, something you could do. You'll notice that third on this list, 80% of the related services for DevOps was for DevOps engineer. What the hell's one of those? Unless you mean systems engineer, then why don't you ask for one of those? If it's about changing your CV, then I've jumped on the wrong bandwagon. So, if you have a look at, so this is actually scrolling back to that 2014 point. The top query is, what is DevOps? So I thought I'd ask you guys, so please, girls, tell me what you think DevOps is. So, is it the coming together of DevOps teams bringing the operations role into the scope of product management working together in an agile form? Chair, stick your hand up, respond. Who agrees that this is really what DevOps is about?
The word I have disagreement with is not so much the coming together, but the extension of the developer's capability over into domains which were previously ops.
Okay, well, we get to that one later. Because I don't think it's really that anyway. It's really the shared responsibility and ownership for things that go into production, right? This time works really well. I like being able to use this in the slide. The whole concept of, well, it's not me that gets woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning, who cares? The idea that 99 bugs in the code, take one down, fix it around, 120 codes in the 120 bugs in the code. Yes. Anyone think that really it's about shared ownership and getting people? Because I've heard at least 2 big customers say that that's what they want. They want panels, and the change approval board should be the one that feels responsible for the thing that they're approving. That's not a lot. Okay, infrastructure as code. Usually this is
I find shared responsibility is anything that uses those 2 words together generally ends up in a disaster. Because shared responsibility generally means no responsibility. That's not to say a single person, or indeed even a single organisation, has to take the hit for everything, but someone has to say, from what we're talking about here, this is what I think is what we're concluding, is that what everyone thinks? And if you haven't got a reasonable consensus on that, the shared responsibility is falling apart.
Absolutely. And when you talk about a CAB or a change approval board, talking in those terms, they're talking about delegating responsibility. Yeah. They're not really talking about sharing at all, because when you share, it's still yours.
Yeah.
Infrastructure as code, what system programmers might have used to call scripting in Bash, is all about consistency, making the development and the production and the testing, staging and UAT all the same. So using scripts to do these things rather than an engineer, as I still saw, opening the console in an military environment and making textual changes in Vi and ham-fisting it. And that did not go well. So it's really about infrastructure as code. Automation. Maybe. What about reducing the friction in the deployment process? So that automation, so through the use of automation, so that we can do things like continuous delivery. Continuous delivery is good because it goes into a great acronym called CD, or CDI, or CDD, but who doesn't want to deliver continuously? That's got to be a good thing, right? One of the conversations I ended up having is that if you plot a path to failure and then you decide to automate it, all you're doing is failing fast. As I mentioned before, failing fast is great in an experiment, it's not so great if it's your business. Unless it's your competitor, which is, that can work out very good too. So, getting back to your point, this is about applying development principles to operations. The separation of concerns, solid as a whole, you see. The repeatability, testability, unit tests, integration tests, all the testing that comes in. There's a whole company called Left Shift that focuses on trying to promote the shifting left in the process of testing. When a test fails, you should do two things. One, fix what broke. Second, fix why it broke at that point and not earlier. Why did it get to break? Why did it actually get down that path? So, isn't this about taking those principles and applying those to operations so that we can test our infrastructure, test our service, so that we know whether a firewall has changed and has now opened us up to Ashley Madison's entire database being removed? Wouldn't that DevOps would have helped them, surely? Morally, maybe not. Are you all agreeing or disagreeing with me, or are you just faithfully aware of the pitfall that So, my point is that no one really is talking about what DevOps is. They're all saying, this is what DevOps means to me. So, here's some things that people are saying when they say DevOps. It's a new job title for some administrators, and I get to call out the recruiters. It might be a way to get a pay rise, or worse, a way for HR to paint you with two hats and pay you the same. That's what's in pay cut. This was a search that I did this morning. 100 DevOps jobs in London match my search. And I mean, you can replace, at least this one's honest, it's systems administration. Or maybe DevOps engineer. Same thing, right?
It's just a buzzword, in our job. So it's involved in certain problems. DevOps, cloud, big data, micros. People haven't been mentioned. I interviewed a financial controller, and in his CV he said he works with big data. He basically interrogates data using Excel and Volvo car parts manufacturing. It's big data. So what you're talking about is really relevant to your community, from our community. Some of our clients, they haven't even got a DevOps environment, but they're pretending they have to make them understand.
Indeed, and I understand the recruitment challenges. Anyone here who's a hiring manager has ever been so understands the hard mismatch that you have between finding the person that matches the role that you're trying to find and making that role look like the right thing to make sure you get the right people. The only problem there is it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If your junior engineer thinks that by calling themselves DevOps they'll get twice the salary, guess what they're going to do?
It's the alarm material.
Sorry, I'm not seeing the slides. He's only seen my ones. So I love this because I know Netflix quite well. And it's the ability to destroy your entire infrastructure with a single click. I mean, you can generate your entire infrastructure with a single click. That was it. Netflix, it's going to try and auto advance it in a second. So Netflix and the Chaos Monkey. I like this particular image. The reason that this works for Netflix isn't because they blow up bits of their services. Make no mistake, Netflix impact their customers on a daily, hourly basis. And it does have an actual impact on their own customers. Netflix do have outages. They still do have performance problems. What they're doing is guaranteeing that they find them earlier than a customer would on their own. So they're able to bring the problem forward and the resolution of it forward before it becomes a bigger issue further down the line. Now, if you're an avionics company and you're building, let's say, an aeroplane, you probably don't want to use the Chaos Monkey. Netflix grew up with the Chaos Monkey. It's part of their culture. They know it's happening. The developers know how it works. The operations team know how it runs. I came across one company that brought in the concept of the chaos monkey to help them define what their monitoring needs to be. They are now a third of the size they were. It had a massive impact on their reputation publicly because the quality of what they were delivering, the perception of it just tanked. So be really careful about instituting things like this because it can hurt you as much as it can help you. But the concept is sound. So you should have a test environment, you should understand what load you place on your system and how it's used, and you should yank a hard drive out, you should kill a microservice, you should bullet a database and check that you can roll back. After all, an untested backup is little more than hope. But be careful about what the impact of failure is. For Netflix, it means that someone can't watch a movie. Does it mean that someone can't get to work, or that a piece of medical equipment can't save a life? There's obviously a line in the middle, but know where that line is.
Does it strictly mean that, though? It's an interesting view you've got, because I've been to some conferences of late where sitting army and chaos monkey is kind of like held up because the went ahead. So when that happens at Netflix, aren't they really just reducing their ability, or their provisioning ability? You know, they may be reducing their capacity, not actually stopping people from watching an actual movie, which might take a little bit longer to buffer for a bit longer. You know, maybe sort of side effects, but not just dropping the service.
So Chaos Monkey happens in low utilised availability zones because they run exclusively on AWS, and it also runs at low utilised periods of time. So for them, that is roughly 1 o'clock in the morning Pacific time.
So students
Basically, well, it means at the end of the week you have a lower impact, but the impact of failure there is lessened, and actually most of the impacts are actually mitigated because it will spin up automatically and do the right thing. What they're trying to do is ensure that their monitoring system continues to operate properly in the event of a failure. What they're not using it is to define what their monitoring criteria should be. Otherwise, you don't know what you're missing. There's the whole argument of you can prepare for the unexpected, but that leaves you unprepared for the truly unexpected.
Yeah, no.
Indeed. Oh, sorry. No. So, it's a chance for operations to get developers to do their job properly. This is the inverse of what I said before. I've seen many operations people moan about stack traces. What the hell am I supposed to do this? I come across this in the log file. Is that bad? Does this mean I rip everything down? Do I reboot the service? What the hell is reflection? And why are we groovy? Part of it is trying to feed information down to the developers so that they can. I know what we can do. We can just put the developers on call, make them answer the phone, get them out to it, and they'll make it better. Didn't work for Tesco. It's a way to screw up on a global scale. So we're now not working in a time. So we kill the monolith, which is great. Because you no longer have this monolithic beast that any small change you don't know what happens, and that's not really the problem. Now what we've done is swapped what was a problem isolation issue to a network problem. Because we've now got millions of microservices all having to be maintain state and cohesion between each. We've now got a message passing problem, IPC, inter-process communication, all of those issues that you have inside the Linux kernel, we've now got those on the network. Before we had solved problems, now we've given ourselves new problems to solve. I mean, it's great for PhD students, but I don't think we're academics. And so really what's happening is that we're distributing our problem and creating a global issue rather than something that's localized. And you're actually making it harder for the developers to resolve issues because in order to get a realistic environment and reproduce the bug, they have to set up 30 different microservices, 7 different data sources, and be able to apply load to all of them simultaneously. It's okay, they can do that on the laptop, right? So is it really just a waste of time and money? As argued by BA Aerospace, they spent £1.7 million writing public code. Unfortunately, they did that 3 years ago, and now they want to rewrite it all because they're going to use Ansible, because that's better, right? So it worked out great for the consultants, and it turns out the same consultancy firm, they were using a sort of small operation called Contagious. They'll be using them to do the new code in Ansible. So if you're a consultant, sell the hell out of that stuff. I just love this picture because it's quite apt. I've walked so many places and go, we're doing DevOps, we've done all this stuff. And I said, okay, great, why? And no one ever has the answer to that. Because it's the right thing to do.
I'm getting out of microservices. We want to do microservices, which I love microservices. I'm Russ on this one, but I'm like, so why do we do microservices? It's because it's cool.
But we'll get to that. So it's really a state of mind, right? I can't count the number of operation centers I've gone into, and they've just said, we're just doing it because this is it's a better way to be. This is how we get peace and equality across all of our company. Yeah, right. Okay. I can only hope that they were smoking joints beforehand because either that's or they're smoking crack. Either which way it's not good. Security hole. You all know that Docker runs everything as root, right? I mentioned government before, and they just did a security review on running Docker in government, and they said not for the next 5 years. They just said 5 years, gone. No, it's been around for 6 years. It's actually just a thin layer on LXC and C groups, but it's they just wiped out. No. And so they installed Rocket instead. Not much different, unfortunately. At least it's not running through. This is something that I've been banging on for a while about, is that you have Ansible. They are not all interchangeable. You name it, Zookeeper, you end up with how many things from HashiCorp. Unless you drink the whole Kool-Aid from HashiCorp, it doesn't really work. But the problem that I see is that we have lots and lots of different puzzle pieces that we're all told to assemble ourselves at the implementation level. And they don't really fit well together. They're certainly not interchangeable because they're solving their own scope. They're defining their own little world and they're defining how the wider world should treat them without actually cooperating themselves to that wider world. So, my point really on all this is that DevOps is an unknown goal. As much as the intentions are all laudable, the path to hell was paved with good intentions. The cooperation that is lacking is really the key issue. And whenever I start to talk to organizations about why they're doing DevOps and what they're doing about DevOps, this all starts to come undone at this point. At the high level, it works really well, and the ideas that you have are fine. But the implementation detail, it looks like the problem's been solved. You have things like Puppet, you have Chef, you have Terraform, you have all of these things out there to help you do these things. Amazon making steps each time, and you're looking at the likes of Google, Amazon. You're looking at the various different organizations that are claiming to be doing DevOps and doing it better, but if you look into the detail, none of them are equivocal. Hell, you can't even look at Google Computing Services and the Google Cloud and the Amazon Cloud, which are arguably the two biggest out there, let alone adding Azure. You can't even compare the things. I mean, if you want to take a database from Azure and plug that into an Amazon infrastructure, good luck with that. I mean, it's possible. It's a lot more painful than I'd like it to do. So, I'll invite Daniel up and we can talk about Calms. Has anyone heard of the Calms? Okay, before. So, Calms has been spouted out for a while. Jess Humble, Jess Humble from Data Delivery, he added the lead into books. It started off as Karen, and more recently it became Calms and started, at least in the people who are writing books and are talking about this, they're starting to talk about Calms, and they're talking about culture, automation, lean, metrics, sharing. These are definitely pillars, and they call them the 5 pillars of DevOps. The problem I have with this is that my company already has a culture, but this doesn't help you directly have a good culture. Automation is fine, but what do you mean by automate? I was automating already with bash scripts. Does that mean I'm done? Is that good? Is that bad? Lean. Okay, well, if I'm a government organisation or if I'm an avionics company and I have to follow a 5-step process and I need Prince to over 2 because I need my gates, does that mean I can't get DevOps? Because I think that's wrong. Sure, that's fine.
Very interesting. There's a guy called Simon Wardley. I don't know Simon Wardley, but he's also like this stuff. And he talks about there's bimodal or trimodal IT, very popular term at the moment. And you have pioneers, settlers, and town planners, depending on what kind of you're trying to do. And one thing he says is like, there's a place for Agile, there's a place for Six Sigma, and there's a place for Lean as well. But it's given the context, like we also can. But Agile does not solve every problem. I've worked in environments where Six Sigma is absolutely the right thing to do. There's a massive change in driving. Well, it was. But I've also worked in environments where Agile is totally the right thing to do. So Simon Wardley, if you Google Simon Wardley, Bits or Pieces, I think his blog is called. It's a fantastic read, fantastic read. You can spend like days reading his stuff. He's quite the wordsmith and quite a thinker as well. He's made some money and stuff. He's done well for himself, so he's proven out that he's said as well. He's very keen on. He talks over your second hand in terms of the lead thing. No one size fits all.
Sure. So who here is actually doing DevOps? You're going to find me rolling my eyes at my own choices. Anyone here think that they're doing DevOps? I appreciate I'm just beating you today, so I'm not going to jump on you. I just really want some feedback about what you think these words mean and whether this resonates with you, because I don't think that the people that are proposing these are doing anything more than proposing bugs. There needs to be a larger voice coming back from the community.
I think the skill is always to, as you said, the jigsaw piece. Commercial tools, either deliberately or by nature of what they develop, they don't fit together like a jigsaw. And exactly the same way with methods. And I was privileged to work many years ago with one of the chief architects of GSM. So he worked for Record when they formed the GSM committee. So huge talent. And he was towards the end of his career, and he was sent along to work on a little project for me, a £20 million project, and it was in a bit of difficulty. And I met him at what became the Record site. And he said, I told him this problem about this £10 million project, budgeted at 20 million or something. And he said, we've got one question. He said, what time do you start? I said, 8 o'clock. He said, fine, I'll be there at 8 o'clock. Anyway, so that was his attitude, and he had a huge bright challenge. And I said to him after he was in for a few weeks, I said, so, do you have a sort of set of methods? No, not really. So I picked little bits of everything. And from this huge project, I had this army of people all working on it. He wrote a 10-page document that defined everything. And was it any particular method? No, it wasn't. And it became absolutely the Bible. It didn't answer all the questions, but it answered enough of them, this, that, and the other. And it was an interesting mix in that case of data flow diagrams and structure and architecture and mechanics and all sorts of things that we're dealing with. And I think that's so that the lesson from me there is that the clever you get, the more you can pick the bones out of the best methods. If the only thing you can do is follow religion, fine. Bring in the lean monkey, bring in the quality man. But you soon get older and wiser.
Dan, and there's what I'm going to pitch. I did a presentation at DevOps to see with Trish G, and we talked about the Dreyfus model. I'm not sure how familiar with the Dreyfus model, but it basically says you sort of move from novice to expert. I use the analogy of driving a car. So when you're a novice at driving a car, you need to be told, clutch in, first gear, put away, that kind of stuff. But when you've been driving for years, you don't even think of these things. And we see it all the time in IT. And just recently I tweeted actually, I was rarely against TDD. TDD is rubbish. Yeah, you just need good design. And I was like, yeah, you've been in the industry for 10 years. We understand. I've been coding for 10 years or more now. I get good design. TDD helped me get there though. Because on my journey through that, on the curve, I started as a novice. And it's the same with architecture, it's the same with ops. I've been through that curve throughout all of that. But it's very dangerous, people claiming sometimes to be experts in things and they're not. And they can. I've been lucky enough to work with people like you that are just genius at the moment. All the experience. And they can rely on what I call System 1, like System 1, System 2. They just know it. They just look at stuff and they get it. But that is hard-won experience, isn't it, in the trenches? And for me, when people start saying, just do good design, I'm like, Dreyfus model. You might be able to do that, that's the majority of people, and your team in particular probably can't. You've got to have empathy. I'll be banging on about that later on tonight, but you've got to have empathy for not only your customers, but where your team is at. You can't just expect everyone to be an expert in everything. That's just not feasible.
And you can't have a room full of genie because the word doesn't exist, so you need a mix of people. And you do need people who are, narrow-minded about whatever process they do, and you've got to learn to switch them in and out.
I come across lots of people who are worried that they're going to have people that are too junior and don't know what to do. Actually, they're the easiest people because they're willing to learn. It's the step before expert is master, and you've not quite got to the bit that you don't need the rule book anymore. You're setting your ways if you stay at the master level for too long. And the people who've been the systems administrator for 30, 40 years, the people who say this is all just a cycle, I've seen it go from mainframes through to microcomputers, distributed to client, and back to mainframes, and I'll just sit this cycle out and it's fine. They're the people that other people look up to, and they're the people who start becoming terrorists inside their own organisation and frustrate the change far more than actually enable and help the change.
Yeah, unfortunately I get to witness that firsthand. A lot of stuff I do, all the transformations and things I do. You can spot them fairly quickly if I'm honest. Like obviously we do typically interviews, and people that tend to be worried about their jobs will be very prescriptive. I need this from you. Where people that are more open to learning, they're more like, so what are you doing here? Are you building this? Are you building that? What are you transforming? So that's a massive generalisation. I would caution with that, obviously. But yeah, it's a key thing. What I'm using people that are open, and like often there's a set of core principles. I find I'll riff on that a little bit more tonight. There's a set of core principles, but it's very easy with our industry. Tech moves so fast, and even if you get the principles, you can be left behind with the tech, can't you? And that forces you to move away from the principles to guard your little empire. Saying that as well, empire building as they call it. So yeah, it's always challenging that stuff as well.
So does calm resonate with anyone else? Does anyone else have any feedback about what they think that being told it's okay, just be calm? Keep calm. Yeah. Well, let's Daniel carry on. This will give us a framework to talk later about the various things. Personally, I find the hardest thing to talk about is metrics. Do we monitor how many times someone opens the door, how many times our website gets hit, what metric actually matters. But we'll get into that in a bit.
Single one in the drink.
Yeah, perfect
Go
time.
for a drink?
Quick break.
Yeah, so I'll crack on. Hopefully about half an hour's worth of material. Like Dan said, please do sort of reach out and ask any questions along the way. So I'm going to look at sort of some of the conceptual issues. I won't go into too much depth because Dan's done a great job with that already, to be honest. Look at some of the technical issues. I'm just going to pick a few from my kind of day-to-day work, just kind of like to get you thinking, hopefully, and you might have seen these things already, and I'd love to hear your comments. Big thing I like about DevOps is to automate everything except the people. Comes like back to my empathy kind of thing I mentioned earlier on. Like I'll also do a few hopefully jokes around that one, but also it's really important to know some automation, but people and processes as well. And change management is essential. I'm probably speaking to an audience that gets that, but I do a lot of these presentations to various levels in the business. And for some people, change management is kind of seen as a management double speak type thing. But for me, it's really important. Like the journey to DevOps, to Agile, to Lean, to developing and delivering good software, it is a journey. Transformation is a journey. So change management along the way is essential. So I've been, much like Dan, talking about this for a fair few years, and this is roughly been my thought process. I started talking about that Chuck Norris doesn't need DevOps, there's a joke there, and ripped on that one back in 2012, I think it was. I was CTO at the time, a small startup, we were just sort of trying to do DevOps-like things. I moved on, a colleague of mine, Steve Bull from IBM, we kind of exchanged ideas and did a couple of presentations around how do you move to a DevOps mode. And then I've been sort of applying software craftsmanship to DevOps, so that was really important for me. I very much like to aspire to be a software craftsman, as much as I am an operator, as much as I am a project manager, as much as I am a QA person as well. More recently, I've done some work with Not on the High Street, on highstreet.com. They are an online marketplace, the leading UK online marketplace. And we moved them onto the cloud. We introduced Docker and Mesos into their workflow. They were already doing some notion of DevOps, and we kind of worked together and grew that notion, which was really good. So I'll talk a little bit about that at the end. And then more recently, I've been jumping on the microservice bandwagon, as is Russ. I don't have a guitar, I'm not quite as cool. But I've been talking about sort of the business behind microservices, the organizational impact, architectural impact, operational things. I've got a couple of presentations called the 7 Deadly Sins of Microservices, which really that thing, so worth checking out. Why? Obviously biased, but I think it's worth checking out. And I talked about DevOps in the cloud, all held and I was with Steve again, kind of building on the stuff that we did a couple of years back about how like thinking about things like security is super important. Everyone's getting the automation, getting the bigger picture stuff, in my experience now, slowly getting it, but things like, security, cybercrime, totally under the radar. It's massive, costs the industry millions and billions. So that's kind of like slide pitch. I'm not going to do talk much about that tonight, but my presentations are all on SlideShare. I've got quite a few videos of talks I've done if you are interested. So conceptual issues. I see a lot of departments rebranding. They're ops departments, they're sysadmins, sometimes they're even app support people. And the problem with rebranding is changing a name. You can feel like my Don Draper marketing scheme here. Change a name, but not much changes. Change the system, you change the people. Change a name, not much. And the problem is, you often make it easy for your people to leave and get new jobs. If you're a Redo DevOps or whatever, like girls who are consulting, say we're a product company, and we suddenly move all app support people to DevOps, then like they go to a job, and they go, oh, Redo DevOps, brilliant. And then you kind of lie your way through. I know a bit of Bash, I know a bit of Python, I'm good. And it's like a self-perpetuating thing, kind of crazy. Be really cautious about rebranding. I see it too much in the industry. One of my other talks that I've done recently about microservices actually was I said that like microservices to me it profoundly impact the way you deliver software. The ability to have disposable software, Unix philosophy, single responsibility principle is awesome. There's a whole bunch of stuff around it. But the problem is, like microservices, it's becoming a tech fest. Everyone's conflating microservices and Docker. And it's the same with Agile, SOA, and DevOps. Agile is becoming a project management fest. Yeah? The original XP was about much more than just project management. But Scrum, Kanban, I'm not a fan. They've got their place, but in general, it's not really the notion of true agility for that organization. SOA, massive vendor fest. Anyone involved in SOA? Yeah. Throw it down the money, kind of crazy. And DevOps is in danger of becoming a tooling fest, I think. Because like Darren's great talk already mentioned, we sort of discussed a few things around like tooling, things like that. But we don't, as technologists, throughout the stack, we don't step back enough and look at the bigger picture. That's one of my pictures tonight. Think holistically. And the people are a big part of that. Oh, did I jump a slide there? So, developers, so a lot of people also say DevOps is developers with infra tooling. I think I already found earlier on. My joke here, Chef and Puppet. There's even a song to that. The thing is, people do think it's about pushing developers towards operations, towards sysadmin things, and it's really not, in my opinion. It's going both ways, which I'll talk a bit more about later on. It says DevOps, but it could be ops dev. It just doesn't sound cool. That's the only reason it's really that's DevOps. Big problem with the tooling is there's so much choice in this space now. That we already talked about that. Ansible, Chef, Puppet, SaltStack, those things. And they're all good for certain things actually. I've used pretty much all of them at various points. But when we ask developers to evaluate things, evaluation is a key skill. For me, architecture, I do a lot of architecture stuff. It's about technical leadership, it's about communication, and it's about risk management, fundamentally. Yeah? And if I bring in new stuff, other stuff comes with it, and that increases my risk. Yeah? So evaluation of techniques, of tools, everything is super important. I want to share with you a quote I often hear, after seeing an evaluation. It says, I'm going to postpone using this shiny new framework until my peers have validated the proposed benefits with rigorous scientific experiments. And this was, of course, said by no programmer ever. Myself included. Yeah, we like the shiny, don't we? I'm certainly guilty of that as well. But think about this. So in terms of risk management, giving your developers control of a domain they might not understand, operations, that is very dangerous. It can be, actually a generalization, can be very dangerous. I like things like this, comparison matrix. You're bringing in something, this is a web framework. Matt Ray was a guy who likes to refer to as well, the top guy. And he was comparing web frameworks. But he's got some notion of things he's looking for, properties he's looking for, and scoring them objectively, or subjectively / objectively, trying to be more objective. You can send this around your team, you can compare frameworks, that kind of thing. The beauty of this, not only can you get together as a team, do it separately and share ideas, should we bring in this tool, should we bring in this technique, but it gives you some notion of why you arrive at decisions. I often go into companies and say, why are you using Rails? Why do you want an Agile? And most of them are like, I don't know. Whereas this kind of thing, like, why are you using Rails? Well, at the time we needed, quick to market, get a product market fit, this kind of thing. Like, there's a validation in some form of documentation. So this is really valuable. Given that you know the properties, if you're going into brave new worlds like cloud and containers, you might not know all of these things. And then maybe you get to reach out and get some more help around this stuff. But it's a nice technique. We've already said it, be wary of DevOps tooling. It is the new snake oil, basically, isn't it? Okay, solves a lot of your ills, but I'm ruining the day when I see a microservice tool. I haven't really seen a proper one yet, but I know they're coming out there.
Spring Boot.
Yes, well, that's pretty good.
It's not worth it, they're calling it,
That's true, yeah.
cloud-native microservices toolkit.
That's true, yeah. I love to be guys, not to problems there, but yeah. So just be aware of these kind of things. When anyone is promising you something that's too good to be true, it usually is. It's a cliche for a new person. So concepts. DevOps is an approach in my mind. Well, that's pretty generic, but I'll go on to more about that later on. Like Dan's already said, comms. I like comms. It makes sense to me. Changing the name rarely changes anything. It'd be easy to think about that. You're in your organisation, you're thinking of rebranding your ops department to DevOps. It can be very dangerous. Everyone feels good, everyone gets a new job. Not so good. Think and act holistically, big picture. And tools should follow practice and process, not the other way around. That's why you shouldn't be buying DevOps tools. It's cargo culting. You're simply copying a result, a tool, or whatever, not understanding what led to the creation of that tool, the principles and practices. Technical issues. So, people, I'm not sure the audience, so people familiar with containers and Docker and Rocket and all that stuff?
I was going to ask actually. Can you explain to a non-technical person what is Docker?
So Docker is a brand, is a company, and they have been pitching containers, which, like Dan said, it started off as a thin veneer around what's called LXC, which is like it's to do with sort of isolating, if you like, processes. It's like containerizing something. So and then not only can you isolate it, you can kind of lift it other places, much like the analogy with cargo. You ship it somewhere else. It can be a deployment artifact. I can stuff whatever I like into that shipping container, and I know that I can put it on any ship, on any platform that supports containers, and it will run. That's the notion. But under that, it's like a lightweight VM, is one way of talking about it. But it's definitely not a virtual machine. Also, it uses something called C groups, namespaces over here, which is actually baked into the Linux kernel. So it's kind of like VMs at a kernel level. But fundamentally, it can be used to abstract what you're shipping and what you're deploying. Does that help? Because it is one of I always struggle. I've read it and done loads of books there, but I always struggle explaining exactly with everyone's experience what a container is. It's quite a sort of deep technical thing, but at the same time the analogy is meant to be much like shipping containers.
It's a bit like a monad. It's really simple, but no one can explain it.
Yeah. Because like shipping containers, literally, it's a great book called The Box actually. It's a great book, and it talks about how shipping containers revolutionised the shipping industry. You can easily offload containers, load them onto the ship. You can standardise all the dimensions and that kind of thing. And this notion at the moment, like when we ship software, we ship binaries, we ship code, we ship jar files, we ship a whole bunch of stuff. The idea being now is just ship containers, ship images.
So the irony of it all is it changes nothing. You're still shipping a thing.
Yeah.
You still have to think about the thing you put in the container.
And
just using a container, changing the name does nothing.
And arguably it's even more, I've heard one person say this in the company I'm working with, it's even more opaque. Because before we used to ship a jar file, at least we know what a jar file is, we only get so much stuff in a jar file. In a container it's got an OS fundamentally as well, so you can get even more crap in there basically. So you have to be careful that kind of stuff. But containers, people look at them like this, and this might help you out a little bit. This is true, something it's like this, but a lot of people think it's like this. They think it's an armoured tank. Chuck stuff in there, it'll trundle on through to production, and we're good to go. People also think it's some kind of castle, we're literally packaging up our jar file in this nice protected container, it should be more secure, that's the theory, it's not quite there yet. In reality, it's a little bit more like this. The reason Google are famous for using containers, everything goes to production in a container with Google. It's not Docker, well, heads up on that one, it is container technology. But the idea they do is they pack as much as they can onto the metal. So they run something called Borg internally, which is like a scheduler, custom manager and scheduler. So they homogenize their infrastructure, deploy something on top, very much like Mesos. Mesos is kind of like that kind of thing. And then they deploy containers on. So the kind of joke here is it's like noisy neighbours. Yeah, it's like VMs, you get that from metal. You put too many VMs on metal to get the intention. Same thing with Docker here. So this is something to think about. It's not as developers in particular thinking of containers as kind of impenetrable units of deployment. And they are in principle, but the reality when you deploy them and run them, places like Amazon, like Google, is it's prone to interaction with your neighbours. And like any kind of place, you can have good neighbours and you can have bad neighbours. But it fundamentally alters the way you design, or it should do, fundamentally alters the way you design the software. Switching gears. So the second of the themes of the technology, Windows, like Microsoft, are a bit late to the party. So I deal with clients that have large Microsoft estates, and it's a real problem. There's this notion of WinOps, coming out. And they did a conference over the year. I didn't go to it, all my colleagues did. And they're doing amazing things now. They've got this thing called like Octopus, which is a third-party tool for automation. Chef are jumping into the bandwagon. They're rolling out Windows containers and Hyper-V and all this kind of stuff. So they're getting into the container bandwagon. But it's a little bit late. They are making amazing inroads. I'm chatting to Microsoft people quite a lot. They're doing some really cool stuff. But if you're thinking about doing DevOps in a very Windows-heavy organization, very Microsoft-heavy organization, just be aware it's a bit more challenging than say a Linux environment.
I think that a large number of companies
Yeah, we had some like stats and many in chat, like 62% of the industry is still heavily based on environments. We said on the e-commerce, all the POS stuff is all based on Windows XP and things like that. There's even a famous story like last week, I think there was one airport was running Windows 3.1, running all their stuff in the airport, or a lot of their stuff in the airport. So Windows is pretty, and it's, it is a good bit of kit for certain things. I'm not, I use Microsoft Load, so I like Linux now, I develop a Mac these days. But just be aware, think about your entire estate. You often go in and go, we're going to do DevOps, we're going to containerize everything. And that might work in Linux, but it won't necessarily work in Windows. It might do, you just need to be aware of that.
Should we put Windows as a general topic if the audience is interested at the end?
Yeah.
And we can go to Nano and a bunch of other stuff that I know.
If that's that, you probably did more
So are you saying you can't do DevOps on Windows?
No, you can. You absolutely can, but I think it will divert away from the message.
Yeah, so what I've sort of just as a sort of like I'll outline, I think it's definitely a bit more break conversation. I'm saying it's harder. Definitely can do DevOps, a lot of tooling out there, it's just harder. People that sort of rock up, DevOps engineers have not got much experience in the general case with WinOps, and they go, yeah, they can automate everything, or you've got Windows, see you later.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and vice versa, because the problem and the strength of Windows is it's a single commercial platform that nearly took over the world and didn't quite because open source was invented. But the contrast to that is that a lot of the speakers and the community stuff and people writing talks like this and starting little companies in Silicon Roundabout. I do it at the other side of the triangle, which means you forget the whatever you said, the 48%. They're only representing the 48% of the best.
Yeah.
And I'm stunned when I go into businesses all full of ideas of wacky things they can do, and they just tick IBM and Windows, and that we made some architectural choices. It was IBM, rationale, and Windows.
And it makes sense at the time.
And it was fair enough. It wasn't stupid.
It's just something to bear in mind.
But that's innovation, of course. So they just say, well, which new thing do you want this year from Windows? Oh, sorry, did I say from Windows?
But as I should be very clear on that. It's a great question. Like, I'm definitely not saying you can't do DevOps in Windows. Because some people do say that. I like the calculation. You genuinely can, but it's a bit harder to my pitch. And I think Dan will the next one about lines and chat with them more about that in a minute. So monitoring, this might be a bit tacky, but I'll chuck it in there. For me, monitoring is like visibility, observability is a key tenet of DevOps. You've got to know what's there to be able to manage it. And there's a couple of technologies, Russell, you mentioned like Spring Boot and so forth. If you're into Java world, this is good. This slide I did borrow from one of my other talks. But for me, even as a business, it's about setting KPIs. Like, what should we even be measuring? There's some clear infrastructure things to measure, but a lot of it is about asserting on invariance in terms of the business. Like, should I alert? This thing Ticketmaster do called symptomatic monitoring. They only monitor and alert on when something is actually causing a business impact. Then if you use Nagios, that kind of stuff, or Itinga, like often when your database goes down, all hell breaks loose. Alerts going on, everyone's getting paged, and like you're not actually sure what the cause to your customer, the critical path. You're not actually sure what that is. So this symptom-based monitoring is a really nice kind of way of saying we as a business set KPIs, and when they're violated, we need to page people or get stuff fixed. But
sorry, what's a bad KPI and what's a good KPI?
All that in this context specific, I reckon. I think it's like, what I'm trying to say here is like, think above the infrastructure. I see like, what I go into and I chat to them, they're like, oh, we're totally monitoring throughput, we're totally monitoring disk I/O, we're totally monitoring network traffic. I'm like, great, so how's the application performing at a business level? No idea. And that one,
the fact that KPI, not the bad one.
yeah,
that's all, that's all.
I like it, yeah, exactly. And some people do rail against KPIs because they can cause perverse incentives sometimes, like if you hit your targets and stuff. So that's what anything like now we like talking about. That is a whole bunch of multiple levels you can look at things. But I like this to start with. I like setting KPIs. It's quite new for a lot of people. It can be scaffolding in the end, but you throw it away after you've got your DevOps kind of thing going on. But I like for me, it's more than just how is the infrastructure performing. That's kind of what I want to say.
So, the CIO, G Capital, described the difference between metrics and KPIs. Was that I used to monitor KPIs, and then I realized all I was really doing was metrics. All of my key performance indicators are indicators of performance of IT to enable the business. And that took my 1,500, what I thought were key performance indicators, down to about 20.
Yeah.
Because that's all the business cared about.
Yeah.
So he turned all of his metrics at his level into business-related key performance indicators, and then told his IT staff and his suppliers, now put the right metrics in place so that they could build the tree against them.
Right.
So if you weren't enabling a decision from the business point of view, then you didn't have a key performance indicator.
Yeah, that's a great input. But the key thing is people measure stuff. I'm like, if you see that measurement altering, will it generate any action? If the answer is no, don't measure it. It's a vanity metric.
The other thing it did was it took amber out of the RAG charts. So you either were or you weren't, and that brought a big cultural change.
Interesting. I love the RAG stuff. I'd love to check it out. Yeah, that's interesting. Right, so that's so a couple of tools I really like. Kibana, just a couple of techie things here. Kibana, and I also like Kibana. They're literally just I lifted these in the presentation I did. I thought if anyone's looking at the tooling in the audience, these are open source tools. I had a lot of success with these. Come and chat to me if you want to know more. Problems as well, a bit more techie thing, but like for me, a couple of things on philosophy of learning is really useful. Brendan Greggs is from Netflix. He's like a genius thinker. Talks a lot about the use method. He does a lot of very interesting stuff around this space. So these are kind of people that are perhaps more dev-inspired, looking to get into operational side, kind of making that transition. This is a nice, chuck this slide at them. It's all on SlideShare, so you have it later on. But these are really good references for kind of devs moving into ops. So technical issues, there are no silver container bullets. Do be careful if you're going to invest a lot of money on traditional VMs and infrastructure. That's my advice at the moment. Compute is becoming a commodity. Again, riffing on Simon Wardley's stuff, he's saying don't invest in something that's becoming a utility or a commodity. Amazon, Google, Azure are doing great work, and your competitors are going to be using them. So why shouldn't you? You do stuff stuff you've got already. That's sunk cost kind of thing. That's a different conversation. But some people we chat to, they're like, I'm going to build my own data center. And I'm like, unless you've got a really good case for doing that, let's have a chat. And I like the cloud. It's not super for everyone, caveats, but I like the cloud infrastructure. But it's a bit. I'm contradicting myself there a bit, but I like to think about that. The containers are not a panacea, but also do think about what you're actually building. If you're building and investing millions, to really think about this stuff. Yeah. Surprising how much people don't at times. Look at your entire IT estate, whether it's Windows, whether it's different databases, legacy kind of things. Too often, DevOps consultants are brought in and they just get attracted to the shiny instant stuff, and they forget about the legacy, the money-making platforms, and forget about that kind of stuff. So do think about that. And observability, for me, riffing on some of the Deming stuff, is like what gets measured gets managed. Some people say again that's bad. For me, it's like we were just saying from there. Like if you don't know about stuff, that's not going to factor into decisions. If you do look at stuff and it makes no impact on your decisions, get rid of it. Signal to noise kind of thing. Very important. Running into the end. So automate everything except the people. Because when we automate people, it goes wrong. Back in the Terminator days. So in the beginning, literally, I often find with sort of greenfield gigs, we do automate as much as we can from dev to production. Yeah. Greenfield type thing. We go in, we use things like Terraform, Ansible, Chef, and all the rest of stuff. But it's really important, to get that mentality of, it's about getting stuff from development into production, into operations. Like Dan North, great speaker, he calls it the dancing skeleton. As early as you can, get a pipeline from into production. Yeah? And that for me is automating all the things. Automating the dev environments, automating the QA environments, automating the trial they go through in order to be is it good enough to make it into QA? Is it good enough to make it into staging? Is it good enough to make it into production? Automate all the things up front. Now, for me, once you've got this mentality, developers often kind of go into this safety culture. They never run stuff in production. It's very easy to get safety culture. Yeah.
Until they have to, at the very final moment it goes live.
And then everyone gets
10 minutes later it falls over.
This is it. So for me, there's a various, it's a slightly weird analogy, but there's an argument with airbags. They're a fantastic invention, obviously. They've saved millions of lives. there's an argument that it causes people to drive more recklessly. Because if you have an accident, you know an airbag's going to deploy, you're probably going to be safe again. So there's some kind of argument that we should actually drive around with a spike on our back. Because if you're tailgating someone down the motorway 80 miles an hour, going to cut someone up, and there's a spike there, you're going to think twice about hitting that brake.
Or a motorcycle.
Tissue. I know you're
Ride a motorcycle.
I know. Yeah, I actually know about that. Right? It does do it last me. Yeah. But this to me is a notion of dead on call. An occasional spike to the head as a developer is not really big. Metaphorically speaking, my legal team did insist I put that in. But no, metaphorically speaking. And it's like Werner Vogels, who's the Amazon CTO, very interesting character, very wise in certain areas. Basically, he's been saying it for years. You build it, you run it. You write it, you run it. And for me, this makes a lot of sense. It is, and I know we talked about shared responsibility already, but it is this kind of notion of, I see, it's like bringing ops and dev closer together. It's not being dev, getting devs more ops or ops getting more dev. It is this kind of notion of communicating, shock horror, actually talking to people. Like, that's quite scary in some organisations.
That's pretty hard to do that.
It can be. I mean, I see all sorts, to be honest. I interact with like tens, hundreds of organisations, and I do see the whole gamut of organisations. Some are fantastic, so not so much. So when you build this wonderful system that's now running in production, often people are involved in the mix. And things go wrong, people are involved in the mix. And when it goes wrong, you want to be this guy. And you want to know what's going on there. And for me, this is like a great story from Mikey Dixon. I'm sure maybe you know about healthcare.gov. In the States, you buy healthcare insurance. It's not like the NHS. President Obama based his campaign on this stuff, and it kind of fell over. It went live October 2013. Didn't really come up again until December. But there's a whole, I'll tell you the story, it's a whole bunch of stuff going on as to why it was failing. But they actually went around the US and brought in key people from different organisations as a crack team to fix this government project that was completely totaled. And Mikey basically came in and went into the developers, big pool of developers, all different contractors, different organisations, and the site was constantly falling over, constantly coming back up, constantly falling over. And Mikey went up to the lead developer and said, like, where's your monitoring? How do you know when stuff's up or down? And he pointed to a monitor in the corner of the room. Mike was like, awesome. Got some metrics, got a dashboard going on. And it's actually a TV with CNN on, with a news channel. When CNN were reporting the site was down, they'd go and lose it. A bit of a mythical story, but I think it's true. I never really know what I've heard. And for me, Mikey's like saying that he gets like Maslow's hierarchy of needs thing, yeah. And like monitoring is like fundamental. If you have not got visibility into your platform, all bets are off, yeah. You just don't know what's going on. But afterwards, it's all about the people. How do you handle incidents? When things are fixed, do you do blameless post-mortems, or do you use finger points? Do you hand off blame and that kind of thing? Testing and releasing these kind of things, I won't talk about so much about them. But for me, like monitoring tech foundational, then it's all about people. It's all about communication. It's all about the leadership. Automation. Yeah, automate. Develop empathy, the shared responsibility, kind of woolly words, but I think for me it is a lot about the bringing together of DevOps and QA and the business even. It's about delivering value to your customer from idea inception to getting it running and keeping it running in production. That for me is what DevOps is largely about. And technology provides a foundation, but after the foundation, it's all about the people. We forget this. A lot of technologists, well, not a lot, so I'm going to caveat that. Some technologists do shy away from, interacting with people, and that is what it is. But for me, we can't get as much success as we want without expecting it is a social business. Developing software is inherently social, inherently collaborative. So change management is essential, man. I love HBR. I'm not a business kid. I've got no formal, a little bit of business training, but no formal training other than HBR books. But I find them fantastic. As a technologist, it helps me speak to various levels. I deal with C-level people all the time. I deal with developers all the time. And it kind of gives me a language to speak to different people at. And one thing I find with them with change management is kind of like transformation is a process. But when you begin the journey, there's this great thing called fair process. 3 Ps. If you're bringing in DevOps, you're bringing in Agile, you're bringing in microservices, it's going to change a lot of things in the organization. And you need to engage with people, get their opinion. People, human nature, we like to be heard, we like to be understood. Once you might have to make tough decisions, like not everyone can have their way. It's human life, or not human life, but it's the way of the company, not everyone's going to win. So you explain why you've made a decision. You have to say, as a leadership team, we agree, it's tough, we come up with this. And then you set expectations. We're going to do this in 3 months, we're going to do it with this budget. And as a consultant, I see a whole lot of this. A whole lot of explanations. We're moving to DevOps, we're moving to microservices. The team that's doing it, got no idea. No engagement. Yeah. A little bit of expectation. Oh, probably do that in a year. A couple of million, probably. Not too sure. And now when you think about it, like, and no wonder a lot of things fail, because they haven't engaged the people it's actually affecting. Right, from the grand level up to your customers, that kind of thing. 3 E's, great, it's in this book actually, great read. Engagement, explanation, expectations. DevOps, Agile, Lean, SOA, all these things are massively disruptive. Potentially, have the potential to be disruptive. So I really recommend doing this kind of thing, engaging people, explaining, setting expectations. And then it is a journey, it is a process. One of my colleagues wrote a blog post riffing on that kind of stuff. And again, it's all about communicating intentions, shared goals, this kind of thing. Empowerment, I'm falling out of love with that word a little bit, but it's allowing people to actually take responsibility and do things. A lot of organisations we walk into, and initially people don't have the power. They've got the responsibility, they've got the accountability, but they haven't got the power to change things. And that's just soul destroying. Yeah. So empowerment, you shouldn't need to give power, but ultimately you might do it at the start. Planning is really important, consolidating what you've done, just kind of build, measure, learn, lean startup type thing, really important. Scientific method, a lot of us I'm sure in the room are technologists. We do not apply the scientific method enough. Build, measure, learn. Deming said, plan, do, check, act. There's you do, Amy Cockcroft talks about a lot. Observe, orient, decide, act. It's all the same kind of thing. Have a goal, make a step towards it, check if you're on target. If yes, keep going. If not, give it, move towards it. Iterative, build, measure, learn. So just summing up really, DevOps for me, it's a personal thing, but I'm thinking it's like development practices. It's kind of like a lot of companies I've worked with when we brought into a DevOps mindset. It's pushing these development practices into ops, making operational people, sysadmins more aware of architecture, of design, of workflow, even simple things like Git and SVN, that kind of thing. Often it's not so well accepted in the ops world. So I push that kind of stuff down to ops. I also get ops to push down things like ILITI, DRPC, InfoSec, which a lot of developers don't really initially care about too much. But these things are massively important. Collaborating between the two of you get the best of both worlds. This is a joint responsibility thing. Infrastructure automation, I think, is part of the journey. Conflict management, provisioning, self-service. A lot of companies I interact with these days, they want self-service. They want an Amazon-like thing. I'm like, hey, why don't you have Amazon? That would feel good. But fundamentally, I get it. It's automation. Deployment automation is the same thing. You're not done until it's running in production, and you're not actually done if it's not running in production, then it's deploy something else. Monitoring is key. Log management is key as well. I can give you advice on that if you're interested. And application management and monitoring. It's like having shop floor operators, sysadmins, feeding back up to the business, how the tech's performing, how the team's performing, these kind of things. It's share the understanding, collaborating on issues. Like the operators, a lot of times I go in there, they're in the basement of the company. They've got super good insight as to what's actually happening with the vendetta, with the ticketing, all this kind of stuff. And exposing this across the business can be revolutionary. It's quite interesting sometimes. I did a case study. If anyone's interested, myself and Nick from Not My Street talked at a Container Sketch conference that was running last week. We talked how we sort of bit of DevOps stuff. We brought in Mesos, Docker, AWS, that kind of stuff. If you're interested in learning that more, I've got a link there. The slides will be online later. If you want to know the transformation process behind that, it's a fascinating journey. I learned loads. Not My Street as well. It's a great journey. It kind of proved the DevOps principles. Towards the end, it was like what I consider proper DevOps. We were all just doing all the things kind of thing to make things work. If we had our specialists,
also about developers interact with infrastructure in a lot of ways. You have a piece of infrastructure, so that databases and you get developers interacting with it in that way. I think there's an education thing there.
yes, education, love it. Great point. So education, I haven't actually mentioned that much. That's really important. Training, coaching, even by osmosis, working alongside pairing or something is super important.
But it's also about infrastructure as understanding the needs of the application requires as well. So when you get the infrastructure, you say, no.
Yeah. I have that a lot.
That's the default answer, isn't it?
Yeah, I get that.
So that's that kind of collaboration thing.
Spot on.
But collaboration is something I do a great deal of, and the trouble with collaboration is that everyone thinks it's an opportunity for everyone else to do what they think. So collaboration involves that two-way street of the other big C word, compromise.
I was going to say that.
And
Something
that's
I
really
do
difficult
for a lot of is running good meetings. There's a great book called Death by Meeting. There's a lot of meetings I go to, they're just fests, just chucking words at each other.
Moaning session.
Yeah, there are a lot of that. We're like group therapy sometimes, yeah. But no, a lot of that is communication. Running effective meetings saves bags of cash and bottom line, yeah.
Meetings waste lots of money, don't they?
If you do them right, they save but also compromise. Spot, again, I'm a massive fan of compromise. You have to compromise on things if you're the same kind of human being. But often not, people have got careers invested in infrastructure in particular. I'm seeing that a lot. Like people have built their own internal infrastructure and their career is resting there. Getting them like it's the sunk cost fallacy. You've sunk the cost, it's not recoverable. Move on. Amazon's going to be cheap or whatever. But that's a really hard sell, and I get why that's a hard sell as well. But that's probably a separate topic anyway. But these kind of things are worth thinking about. Education is key. That's pretty much it. So I've got this like a little bit of a joke. Actually, it's a little bit for you, Russ. Like Russ did a great manifesto kind of thing at MoveCon. So I got to spend stuff as well in MoveCon. But I don't agree that we're definitely. This is basically sort of taking a little bit from the Agile Manifesto, the Agile Manifesto. Like OpenVideo, the last sort of like 6 years it's been running. I've been there a couple of years. We're seeing certain things that like make projects that we see do well have these kind of things. There's a little bit of backwards causation, which is always a bit dangerous, but fundamentally like thinking about products rather than projects, cross-functional teams over these large departments, cohesive microservices over this one app to rule them all, that kind of thing. Goal-driven technical leadership over command and control. Automated continuous deployment. This is more your DevOps stuff. Individuals' interactions. And we're generally seeing getting real stuff done, creating the manifestos that will be misinterpreted. But these kind of things we're definitely seeing a lot of, and this is the DevOps type thing here. We're seeing like successful projects. We help companies move to this kind of mode of working. It's a fundamental change for a lot of IT shops, the way they're working. A lot of shops in general, I guess. Just a quick interlude. So I chat to a lot of very lucky, very fortunate. I get to chat to people at Google. I get to chat to people at Amazon quite a lot, and they are like they've moved on beyond DevOps now. Like they're so right ahead of us, like in terms of what they do. But they embody the DevOps principles still. DevOps is just a label, let's be honest. But they actually like chatting to people at Guild, people at lots of companies. They're moving towards this notion of full stack developers. So developers can do operational things as well. Pretty much what we call a DevOps these days. That's what they say. Oh, that person, he or she is a full stack developer. They also have this notion of platform tooling team, which are developers and operationally savvy, but they build the platform, they maintain the platform, and they build the tooling to get stuff onto that platform. And they have what's called SREs, site reliability engineers, who are all about the other teams. They're consultative, they bring in, they think about DRPC, they think about InfoSec, all this kind of thing. But this is what some people are sort of moving to. So DevOps is kind of for us like a transitionary period, I think. Like Google have kind of moved on. I don't say just copy Google because that is cargo culting again, but it's interesting this notion of kind of they've actually said, to be honest, like DevOps is just like developers doing a bit of ops doing a bit of development, shared collaboration. They kind of moved on. And for me, I'm seeing this more and more in the industry now. People might actually talk to each other as well. This like my job would be redundant. If I went to companies and there was good communication taking place, I largely wouldn't be needed. A lot of the stuff I do is organising good meetings and getting people talking, sharing ideas. Sounds really silly, but this is really fundamental. Yeah. And people talking to each other, people sharing ideas is really good.
Sorry, going back to the full stack developers, that's a bit I think that's a tricky term because in a development environment, you tend to talk about full stack developers or UI UX down to database.
Yeah.
There might be a better term.
I hear
like an infrastructure where.
No, I like it. Yeah, this is just what. This is actually. I think this one came out of. I'm not going to say actually, in case I'm wrong, but it came out of someone I was chatting to, a big organisation that are forward thinkers. But you make a very fair point because my notion of full stack is UI and the back end, front and back end.
But aren't you talking about full life cycle developers? Because that's what I find to be. And I think the full stack developer is a myth, and I always talk about that mythical beast, the full stack developer, because it draws people onto becoming the hero developer, do everything in their own way. And that's great. And then I send someone that knows about Oracle or security or whatever, and it's about 8 seconds to break it, and everyone's in tears. And I said, well, what I say to quite a lot of organisations is they tend to have a strategy that just hopes that Mark Zuckerberg is working in the basement and that he's going to save the company by inventing
it's like the Phoenix Project. If you mention Phoenix Project,
exactly, yeah. But they don't even. They're so scary. They won't even say that. But that's what actually their strategy is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people are doing good stuff. Okay, are you responsible for that? How much money you spend?
Rockstar culture.
Yeah.
So isn't the full stack developers not supposed to be someone that's the expert in someone's aware of it?
Yeah.
That's in my role. So I like to myself like a T-shaped person or a generalising specialist. I can do anything, but I'm quite slow at some things. Yeah. But I know about it. I agree. And that for me is in yes, you could like definitely in certain organisations, you need even SAN experts, because we run a SAN, yeah? Like, you know, but like this notion of being aware of these things, not just like my job stops at the SAN, you know, and some of them do, but yeah, you can't be, like, that's really the point, because like, this notion of full stack, like, in some levels it's really scary. I've got to know all this stuff, and like, you see job specs with like 30 different languages on, you know, just that.
Perhaps just the full donut developer. There's a very rounded person who likes donuts.
My favourite the description about this, you don't have to know all this stuff, you just care about this stuff.
Yeah.
Not my job is never to come out of your mouth again. I don't know, but I think maybe.
Yeah.
Have you thought about?
One answer is definitely the right one.
So I always, everyone's seen in my talks before, I always love to do, I love reading. I've got a bit of a peach, but I didn't deal with it, so I do lots of reading on the train. But reading for me is like, it's a dying art, I think. But like, reading is different than, like, reading books is different than blogs. Blogs gives you tech, gives you new ideas, gives you the latest hotness, but like, it takes a while for stuff to filter down into books in the general case. So I like reading books. If you, and I broadly categorise that, I think, like, organisational. I can mess my categories up a little bit, but so like these, if you're doing change, like this is a great book. It's a pattern book about introducing change in organisations. Linda Rising, awesome person. Actually, some great conference talks. And this is an amazing book, brand new from the ThoughtWorks people. They are my competitors, but it's a great book about how you fundamentally, like DevOps and microservices, will transform your whole organisation. You think about budgeting, you think about staff, and you think about how you run projects, products, that kind of thing. And this is about scaling. Phoenix Project, classic DevOps reference, but it really is a good read. I recommend it. Anyone who hasn't, who's interested in DevOps, to read it. Adrian Cockcroft always recommends drifting failure. Small things or drifting places like that will eventually, or can eventually lead you into failure. It's a very interesting read about sort of how not to ignore key things. Death by meeting, I mentioned already. Like, meetings are fundamental. What I do and fundamental in a lot of companies. Run them well. It's a great book. And this is more tech stuff, like more. Continuous delivery, dev looking to get more into ops, and then ops kind of get more into dev. That's the kind of like vibe there. If you want to take them away, perhaps recommend them to your team. Big thanks, got to shout out my own creative colleagues. Like say, like I'm the one presenting, but like they're also a bunch of people, and I constantly get loads of bounce back from them, loads of ideas and stuff. It's really cool. Got to shout out Noel High Street, who like said a lot of these ideas are late. I've been working with them and testing these ideas there. They're my clients for like a year or something now. Got to shout out the microservices user group. I'd actually bounce this presentation off them, and the LJ do the same thing. So I always like to shout out. It's always just like me presenting or whatever. There's a whole team group behind it. So I've got to give that to them. That's it. Questions welcome. Hit me up on Twitter, email. That's the Open website. We blog quite a lot if you're interested in more techie stuff at the moment. But we're also doing blogs around transformation. Please do check us out. Yeah, thanks for your time.